learn business. Don't just focus on exclusively what your current job title says. Make it a point to get out there and pick up on whatever it is that could benefit you.
Hello, and welcome to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group. I am your host, Matt Allred. In this podcast, we talk to the people whose lives and careers are dedicated to the vertical transportation industry to inform and share lessons learned, building upon the foundation of those who have gone before to inspire the next generation of elevator careers. Today, our guest is Ray Miller, Business Development Manager for Elevators with Schmersal, USA and Canada. Ray started his career with Southern Elevator and Electric Supply, also known as SEAS, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida in 2008. In 2009, Ray moved to Los Angeles to take on a promotion with SEAS, and shortly thereafter, he took on the role of Sales and Operations Manager with Draka Elevator. Ray has been in the industry for 16 years and loves the nuances of working with elevators. He loves the fact that there is always something new to learn, and he plans to stay with elevators for the rest of his career. Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be with you, Matt.
Yeah, it's good to see you again. It was good to meet you in person at the NAEC conference, and I've enjoyed our conversations along the way. So it's good to be able to talk a little bit more with you today. And Ray, the question I always like to start with is just tell me how you got started in the elevator industry.
Yeah. Let's see. Straight out of college, I studied business management, and psychology at Florida State.
Okay.
So graduated college back in 2007, going into an economic downturn. So was bartending still, just trying to find a real job, and was down in living in Fort Lauderdale, and just remember applying to some job posting on, I think it was like monster.com.
Right.
And it was an elevator industry job. I think it was like an accounts payable job, and stood out to me. It definitely stood out to me. But the next morning, I got a phone call from David Selesnik, and same day went in for an interview and walked out with a job. Again, I was just looking to get a real job, stop bartending, and really had no experience. And David and I talked, and he laughed. He straight up told me I had no experience in the accounts payable realm, and but he offered me a job in customer service, and I was just looking to get my foot in the door. So it all started there, and soon thereafter, David offered me the chance to move out to the West Coast, gave me a promotion to become the West Coast sales manager.
You said soon. How long had you been there when he said, "Hey, you want to move to California"?
Yeah. It actually came up during the job interview.
Oh my gosh.
And of course, my ears perked up. A young single guy. I knew I wanted to get away from Florida. Spent most of my life here in Florida. I knew I wanted to do something different. So when he mentioned the potential of assuming I proved myself and proved myself capable of taking on the position, so I think it came up during the job interview, but it was probably maybe a year and a half after. Okay. Maybe 15 months after I started with the company. So 24 years old, packed up and moved out to Los Angeles, and stayed with the company about one more year after that. Eventually, I did jump over to Draka Elevator and spent the next 11 years with them. But forever indebted to David Selesnik and Rich and the family over at SEAS. I still consider them good friends. Really, David and Rich are like big brothers. So a lot of gratitude to them just for taking a chance on a young guy. And yeah.
No, it sounds like they kind of really mentored you in your job in this industry. When did things really click that you're like, hey, I like this industry and I think I'll stick around?
It didn't take long, honestly. I mean, I realized I was in a special place as soon as I joined SEAS. So they've got a really cool operation, nice company culture. They treat everybody well, and just to get me up to speed, because of course the first couple months, maybe the first year, maybe two that you spend in this industry, you really don't know what you're talking about. There's a learning curve,
Sure.
and so just to get me up to speed, they put me at the will call counter, and so when mechanics came in to pick up parts, it was me that they were talking to, unfortunately for them.
I'm
But
just thinking, I'm just envisioning the mechanics, right? Trying to tell you what the part is. I
exactly.
have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. But those guys definitely know what they're talking about. I had plenty of support at Seas. I could always go ask a question, and mechanics are typically willing
Willing to teach you, right?
to impart some knowledge on you. So spent quite a bit of time just working that will call counter, taking phone calls, figuring it out. I mean, if
Sure.
you've seen the Seas catalog, it's probably 600 pages. It's the Bible of the elevator industry
Wow.
here in North America. So there is definitely a lot to learn. But yeah, I would say soon after joining Seas, I realized this is definitely something I could do. And if I could get up to speed with all the nuances of this industry, that there's potentially a future in it for me. And 16 years later, I can definitely say there was a future in it for me. And never say never, but I have no desires to go off and do something else. I think I found my niche, and if all goes as planned, I think I'll be in this industry for a few decades to come at least.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So help me define that just a little bit. What is it? Because I talk to people all the time that, and you know them, right? Come and just want to stay in the industry. What do you think it is that makes the elevator industry special, that keeps people in it, that keeps people coming back to it when, sometimes they leave and it's like, man, I miss it. What do they
Yeah.
miss?
Good question. I would say it sounds silly on the surface, but I've always said that if you can have an intelligent conversation about elevators, about escalators, that there is job security in this industry. It's not something an outsider can step into and be effective from
Right.
day one. Um, so really, I mean, I think when you've invested time in this industry and spent the time to get up to speed with whatever niche within this niche industry you've decided to focus on, when you spend the time to perfect your craft and really get the knowledge, it would it almost seems like it would be a waste to just unless you hate it, but it it seems like it would be a waste to just jump ship and abandon everything I've learned. And despite the fact that I mean, it's a big industry.
Sure.
Elevators are ubiquitous. We use them every day, but nobody puts much thought into them. And so there's so many realms that you can decide to focus on. Of course, I'm on the supplier side of things,
Sure.
but I see people doing extremely well on the contractor side of things. And there are just so many different nuances, and just once you've developed a skill set, I mean, really, it seems wasteful to go on and just do something to just abandon it. But I
Right.
mean, the people definitely help. I mean, generally speaking, it's good people. As a supplier, and I've got to go out and speak with all different kinds of people, and it's you meet new people every day, and typically you're working with good people, and
Sure.
that definitely keeps you coming back. But I mean, job security, really. I mean, at the end of the day, I let's be honest, job security. If you know what you're talking about, you can find
Sure.
a
There's
a
value,
job
right?
in this
Once
industry.
once
And
you've learned it, right? It's like, hey, 15 other companies lining up to hire you if you, get laid off, for example, because hey, we need that skill set. We need that knowledge.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's a big industry, but a relatively relatively small number of companies competing in this
True.
industry, but there's quite a bit of spend. The transactions are typically
Sure.
high value transactions. Elevators are not cheap,
Right.
so it's not that it's not so cutthroat that you've got 20 other companies selling what you're selling. There's definitely competition, and you've got to find ways to stand out against the
I mean,
competition.
you mentioned you were excited to go to California. Um, what was kind of drawing you that way? Like you said, just maybe get out and explore, get away from home, meet some new people.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely wanted to get away from home, like I said. I knew Tampa would be here with open arms. If I ever failed and
Sure.
fell flat on my face, I knew Tampa would be here with open arms. Most of my friends stayed here. Nothing wrong with it. Tampa's a great city, but I knew I wanted to get away. I wanted to see the world. Didn't come from much, never had the opportunity to travel much when I was younger. So I
Sure.
knew I wanted to get away and see some things. And Los Angeles, it wasn't necessarily on my list. I wanted a big city, but when the West Coast position opened up, I of course jumped at it, and it was fantastic. I'm honestly, I moved back to Tampa. My wife and I are both from here, so it just made sense around the time of the pandemic. But honestly, I miss California every day.
Well, I see the surfboard, right? I mean, you learn how to surf. I mean, a little bit of jealousy here, I confess, but I think that
That was
says
my
a lot.
passion. That was my passion. That honestly, that's all I miss. Was the surfing. Became a after work on the weekends. I mean, we were beach bums. Would wake up before the sun came up to try to surf before work, get a session in at first light, and after work, if the wind hadn't destroyed the waves, and we try to get out then also. So honestly, that was my passion. It's there's no better way to relax, get away from all the stresses of the day, whatever is on your
Sure.
mind when you're out there surfing. It's the furthest thing
Sure.
from,
Sure.
yeah.
You're
So
just in the
that's
moment.
honestly all I miss about it. So super expensive to live though, and at some point, my wife and I just we just made the move to come
Had to be
back,
practical. Yeah. 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 Well, that
start
is
a
one thing.
family, be able to
Sure.
afford a house, and but then honestly, Tampa got expensive too. The past couple of years, I mean, we've all heard it. Everything's gotten expensive.
True.
So a part of me wishes I would have stayed, but our family's here, and with a little baby now, it's nice to have family around, have some support,
Absolutely.
and yeah. So
Yeah. Good
we're
for
happy to
you.
be back.
Yeah.
But
Well,
if the opportunity presents itself, perhaps you'll find me on the West Coast again.
yeah, exactly. Look just beyond the sand, right? You'll see you out in the water.
Exactly. If you
Um,
can't find me, I'm probably surfing.
right. Well, and then one of the things that I think is really neat about the elevator industry is because of the skill set, the knowledge that you talked about earlier, there are opportunities and I see it all the time as a recruiter that, hey, this is in Seattle. Oh, hey, this is in DC. Hey, this is in Boston, and so I see a lot of people who are career minded taking those opportunities and moving to Southern California, spending a few years, and then boom, we're back to Kansas or we're back to Florida or
Yeah,
wherever. So um, yeah, wherever those skills and those opportunities take you, there's usually opportunities to go if you want them.
absolutely. And if you're a young person, I'd highly suggest taking advantage of that opportunity. It might not be Los Angeles, it might be someplace else, but get out and see something
Sure,
different. Just expand your horizons. Don't get so comfortable in your current situation. And then, like I said, I mean, your hometown is always going to be there with open arms. Your
sure,
buddies will always be there to welcome you back. But take that opportunity, and if you fall flat on your face, so be it. At least you you did it, you attempted it,
sure,
and no doubt you'll come back a better person from it. But if you never take that opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone, then you're going to live a sheltered life,
sure.
and it's not for everybody. I certainly appreciate that, but I would highly recommend, if the opportunity comes up, just raise your hand and say, "Hey, I'll go."
Sure.
And of course, it's easier when you're young, single, no kids. But even if it comes later, life is short. So that's
Take
always
some
been
risks. I
my,
hear you saying, yeah. Okay.
yeah, to take that chance. So
So let's
absolutely.
bounce back to your story for a minute, and it sounds like about a year or so into your Southern California adventure, you said, "Hey, let's jump to this Draka thing." What kind of compelled you to sign up for that?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I went out to Los Angeles, Seas, there was a pseudo partnership. So Draka was providing the warehouse, the office space.
Okay.
Seas was using it as a stocking distribution center. So there was some. I was familiar with Draka
Sure.
before
Okay.
I decided to jump ship. Honestly, what took me over was just the opportunities for growth.
Hmm.
I love Seas, but it's a family-owned company, and
Sure.
there were going to be limitations as to how high I could rise in that company,
Unless you can
and I
change
was
your
well aware of
family or
that.
get adopted or something, there may not be.
Exactly, exactly. Take on the last name Fitzgerald. Um, but I was well aware that there would be a limit to
Sure.
how far I could move up within the C's organization. So I knew with Draka, it's a huge multi-billion-dollar corporation, that there would be probably more opportunities to advance
Sure.
myself. So when the opportunity came up, I definitely had to think about it quite a bit. It was difficult to call David and let him know I was going to be leaving, but he was supportive the whole time, and
Cool.
there was never any hard feelings about anything. And I consider those guys over there still very good friends. And I, David wanted what was best for me, and I think he agreed in that time that was a good opportunity
Awesome.
for me. So yeah, jumped over. Initially, was really just inside sales, managing the operation, and slowly began moving my way up within the Draka
Sure.
organization. Eventually, took over the West Coast as the West Coast sales manager. Eventually, became the senior sales manager for North America, and then the opportunity came up to take over as the director of sales for North and South America.
Oh, wow.
And of course, I jumped at the opportunity, despite the fact that I was probably unqualified at the time. You just say yes.
Sign me
A
up.
wise man once said, "Fake it till you make it." But sincerely appreciate Starrett Lloyd. He's the president over at Standard now, for taking the opportunity. Taking it was a risk,
Sure.
giving me North and South America. I mean, it was north of $100 million territory. So
How
for a
much
younger
travel?
person
I mean,
like,
did you have to fly to Peru and Bolivia? I mean, what did that look like? I can't even imagine.
yeah, with Draka, I was definitely traveling a lot. Yeah, a lot of business trips to Brazil, but China,
Wow.
Turkey. I got to go see. They were an Italian company at that point, so was going to Milan a couple times a year. So that's one thing I will be eternally grateful for, to that organization, for just giving me the chance to get out and see the world, get some stamps on my passport, because I saw more places than most people will see in a lifetime, just managing that sales for that organization.
Right.
So it's I was blessed to have that opportunity come to me, and eternally grateful for them taking a risk and letting me do it. And yeah, I mean, it's scary. Honestly, it's scary. You're sitting down at meetings. At that point, I was in my early 30s. You're sitting
Sure.
down at meetings with executives running multi-billion-dollar corporations, the OEMs, the
Sure. Sure.
TKs and Otises, and high-level meetings with a lot at stake. And so for them to entrust that to me, I mean, it I learned so much that you can't learn in a textbook or
Sure.
in school. You really have to be there. But you also, I mean, there's that imposter syndrome that
Oh,
you
sure.
feel like, do they know I'm
One of these is not
unqualified
like
for
the
this?
other, is what you're feeling, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, do they know that like you sit down at the in the conference room and it's like, oh my God, do they clearly they can see I'm younger and probably less qualified than them, and they're looking at you, and in the back of your mind, you're terrified because
Sure.
you somewhat feel like an imposter. But after you do it for a while, you definitely get that confidence. You're representing an organization, so you can't be scared. You can't give the house away. You really have to understand what you bring to the table and what your company is capable of offering. And I mean, there are some difficult meetings that we had to sit through, but get it done. Find a way to get
Well,
it
and I
done.
think what I hear you saying is you just lean into your fear, right? You can't run away. You just got to lean into it. You said fake it till you make it earlier, but I think there's I don't know. I don't think it's faking it as much as just stepping into it.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am. If I'm not, you know, learning, understanding something, maybe you can help me understand, right? Teach me something or whatever. But I'm here to represent my company. I'm here to provide what you guys need. I want to do my very best at it, even though I may, feel a little fearful about it. But as you lean into that fear, the fear goes away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everything you've worked on, everything you've studied, everything you've done in your life, honestly, it's not just business school.
Sure.
It's not just previous work experience. It's really social skills, and just
Sure.
absolutely everything you've done has led you to that point. So you really have to have some confidence in yourself to make some executive decisions on the spot. And but you also have to be conscious that you don't need to make all the decisions right there at that table. It's okay to say, I'm going to go back, discuss it
Right.
with the team, and get back to you. You've got to give them confidence that you are the person they need to be speaking with. This company that you represent is the right company to do business with. But you'd be mistaken to give off all the answers right then and there in that moment.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
okay to go back and ponder it for a bit and discuss it with your team, and come back and provide some alternatives. So you also have to make sure, as important as it is to say the right things, you also have to be very conscious to know when to just shut your mouth
No,
and
what
not
not to
say
say.
anything,
Sure.
and nod your head, smile, and say, we'll get back to you.
I'll get back to you.
So
No, I love that. That's wise counsel. I remember somebody saying that to me early in my, previous to recruiting and podcasting, all that. I was in human resources, and that was one of the first things they said was, just if you don't know, don't say anything. Don't,
yeah,
don't
exactly.
step into that trap. So,
Exactly. That's one thing I learned quickly, is when you do say something, it's almost impossible to take it back. Sure, you can
oh
change it
yeah,
later,
yeah,
and but when you say too much, trying to backpedal is so much more awkward and uncomfortable, and detrimental to the negotiation
oh yeah,
or whatever the meeting, the topic is at hand. So that's one thing you've got to learn quickly, is when to say something and when to just shut your mouth and say, we're going to have to get back to you on that. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I learned that the hard way.
yeah,
won't get
haven't
into
we all?
specifics. Exactly.
Haven't we all?
Exactly. So tell me, I mean, you're currently leading business development over elevators for Schmersal. Moved back to Tampa. Tell me a little bit about that role and what you're doing
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. Yeah, it's I feel like everything I've done in this industry and up until now has prepared me for this position, and I'm loving it. It's Schmersal is a big company. Honestly, I ask everyone I speak to, have you heard of Schmersal? I would say 3 out of 4 people in North America in this elevator industry have not heard of Schmersal.
Okay.
But we've been around 77 years,
Wow.
well-established company, incredibly high quality products. And um, here in North America, we've got a big team focused more on industrial safety, automation type equipment, and we excel at that. We're an industry leader in those segments. And while we've been in the elevator industry for several decades,
Sure.
we've got established elevator businesses in Europe. We are a German company.
Sure.
South America, we've got a big plant in Brazil, huge business in focused exclusive on elevators in South America, Asia. So around the world, we're a big elevator company, but here in North America, we've never had a team focused exclusively on this industry. We've had some people selling part-time while they're also selling safety and automation equipment. But anybody who works in this industry knows that you really have to know this industry to be effective at selling to service companies, to OEMs, to distributors, whoever. So my job, honestly, I'm really setting the foundation for what's to come. So I've
because they haven't had a foundation. In other words, you're building it.
Exactly. We do have some elevator sales. I don't want to discount it, but relatively small. But what we need is inventory in place. Anybody who works in this industry on the supplier side of things knows that if you intend to sell to service and repair companies, you've got to have stock in place.
Sure.
Historically, we might tell a company it's going to be a couple weeks because we have to import it from Germany. And anyone who has a down elevator knows that
That's not
is
the right
absolutely unacceptable. They will simply hang up the phone and call the next company to see if they can get it tomorrow. So working on just fine tuning our inventory at our distribution center headquarters up in New York. So getting stock in place, getting our catalog organized, getting social media. So really kind of wearing multiple hats, but I love it. I've always considered myself an entrepreneur, despite the fact I've never done anything quite entrepreneurial. I feel like this role is perfect for me, and I'm really enjoying it. Could definitely see myself in this position for many years to come. We've got a few new things that we will be rolling out in the next couple months, and some might be next year, but just working on getting some UL certifications on a few products that would be required. Again, we sell a lot of these components around the globe, but the North American elevator industry does have different standards. And so a few of the parts, while they're incredibly high quality, some lack the UL labeling that might be required, or navigating A17.1 code. So it's I think we're in a good place now. I have no doubt that this business will be a big player in the North American elevator in the next couple of years. So yeah, I'm excited for what's to come, but I've really enjoyed just what I've been doing in the past 18 months.
That's awesome.
Helping getting things organized so that we could really have a launch pad to jump off of.
Very cool. Very cool. So, we're getting, I guess, close to our time now. Just a couple of questions. And one is, what do you think's the single biggest lesson that you've learned over your career?
Good question. Biggest lesson. Well, first off, I've learned that you can't just wear one hat. In this industry and business, I would say in general, even if just whatever it is that you want to focus on, I've learned that you can't just be that. If you want to have opportunities to get promoted, to move up, to move around in this industry, you really have to understand much more beyond that. I mean, if you're a salesperson, it would be wise to at least be able to have an intelligent conversation about marketing, or even accounts receivable, accounts payable. Learn business. Don't get so caught up in your current position that you forget to learn what people around you are doing, because I really think it makes you better prepared to take on bigger challenges. So that's one thing I've learned. I've also learned that none of us are disposable, that all of us are replaceable. Despite the fact that you may feel like you're the top dog. Nobody is safe at the end of the day, and it's nothing against the businesses.
Sure.
The managers, the owners have to run an effective, profitable business, and oftentimes that means making difficult decisions, cutting people that probably felt pretty safe. So don't ever get too comfortable. Don't ever think that you're indispensable and
Right.
that you you're safe. And honestly, I prefer to keep that mentality because it keeps you on your toes. You never want to get too complacent because you might get blindsided. So yeah, that's a few things I've learned.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And maybe this, it could be a repeat, but I'm just curious, what advice would you give to somebody who's like brand new to the industry, not even sure what they've taken on? What would you say to them as they're starting?
Yeah, learn as much as possible. It's so cliche. It's probably been said many times over, but it's been said many times over because it really is that
Sure.
important. You really have to learn as much as possible. When something comes up, even if it's not something you prefer to spend your time doing, raise your hand and volunteer to be included, to chip in. I remember being assigned, I don't think I volunteered, but being assigned to helping with SAP implementations, changing
Wow.
our ERP system, and how miserable that was, spending months with consultants and having to learn nuances of this ERP system that I may never use. But later on, having that knowledge made me so much more valuable to
Right.
the companies I was working for, allowed me to be autonomous also. I mean, not having to wait on somebody else to dig up something out of the system, to be able to go in the system and find it yourself, create quotes yourself, whatever the case is. So honestly, learn as much as possible. Going back to what I said about not focusing so much on your current position, but really trying to understand the business. That's one thing one of my mentors, Eric Lazier, imparted on me was just how important it was to really understand how cash, how money flowed through a business. And
Right.
it encouraged me to go back and learn more about accounting and balance sheets and income statements and stuff like that. Because if you really want to grow within a company, you're going to have to at least understand the basics of that to be able to make good decisions. So learn business. Don't just focus on exclusively what your current job title says. Make it a point to get out there and pick up on whatever it is that could benefit you. Becoming a pro at Excel, spreadsheets. I mean, we all use spreadsheets, but most of us just struggle through it. Once you get good at it, there's so much benefit that your employer will see, that they'll notice, and opportunities will come up. If you can have an intelligent conversation about different
Right.
facets of business, or if you bring more to the table than just what you're currently doing, opportunities will come to you, doors will open. So just try to learn as much as you can. Find a mentor, listen to some podcasts, read a book or two, whatever you want to do, but just find opportunities to learn.
Awesome. Ray, thank you so much. I appreciate all your
Thank you.
wisdom, your insight. It's been a privilege. Oh,
Thank you. Thank you. I love what you're doing with this podcast. Honestly, this elevator industry has never gotten too much love. It's this small niche industry. So seeing you do this podcast, it shows that we're getting some attention. And yeah, thank you for the invite also.
no, thank you. I mean, elevator industry is it's a special place, and it's amazing to me just how special and yeah, that a lot of people don't realize what a gem it is. So thanks for being willing
Absolutely.
to talk with me about that. So I wish you the
Absolutely.
best as you continue to build your business.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a
Thanks. Bye.
pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Elevator Careers Podcast, sponsored by the Allred Group, a leader in elevator industry recruiting. You can check us out online at elevatorcareers.net. Please subscribe, and until next time, Stay safe.